Many claim we must follow the science. But what about when the science is wrong? Welcome to Into the Desert, exploring the wilderness of ideas. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and if you want to support this channel, there's a link to our Patreon down in the description. A fourth infamous decision, Buck versus Bell, 1927. As with so many things, new ideas can be intended and even used for good. However, once released into the world, they can be taken and used by others for great evil. On November 24th, 1859, Charles Darwin published The Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. His new theory of evolution by means of survival of the fittest swept through the intellectual community like wildfire, and soon was applied to humans. It was already known that controlled breeding could improve livestock. When combined with Darwin's new theories, this gave rise to a new branch of science, eugenics. In addition to being a new science, eugenics also became a popular movement with eugenics clubs and even eugenics societies. Before long, it moved into politics. While primarily a progressive movement, eugenics found support across the political spectrum. After all, it was just following the science. A significant focus of eugenics was improving the human gene pool, our genetic stock. Two main approaches were used. One, encourage those with so-called good genes to reproduce, and the other discouraged those with less desirable genes from reproducing. Thus, Margaret Sanger, whom Time magazine called a vocal eugenics enthusiast, founded Planned Parenthood to assist with family planning, a key goal of eugenics. When eugenics moved into the realm of politics, it took on a sinister tone, as the government does not just discourage, it passed laws. This is what the state of Virginia did in 1924. In an effort to support what is called scientific eugenics, the state enacted the Racial Integrity Act and the Sterilization Act to protect the gene pool. We will deal with the Racial Integrity Act in an upcoming video. The Sterilization Act stated,
"Whenever the superintendent shall be of opinion that it is for the best interests of the patients and of society that any inmate of the institution under his care should be sexually sterilized, such superintendent is hereby authorized to perform, or caused to be performed by some capable physician or surgeon, the operation of sterilization on any such patient confined in such institution, afflicted with hereditary forms of insanity that are recurrent, idiocy, imbecility, feeble-mindedness, or epilepsy."
At the time, such forced sterilization was controversial. Many questioned if the government had such a power. To settle the issue in their favor, supporters of eugenics at the Colony for Epileptics and Feeble-Minded, whose superintendent was John H. Bell, engineered a test case, hoping the court would certify the practice. For their test case, they selected Carrie Buck, who was 18 at the time. The colony's justification, as described by Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes in the decision, was that
Carrie Buck is a feeble-minded white woman who was committed to the state colony, above mentioned in due form. She is the daughter of a feeble-minded mother in the same institution and the mother of an illegitimate feeble-minded child.
The term feeble-minded goes back to the 16th century, with the meaning of foolish or stupid. It was particularly used in the eugenics movement to indicate an inability to think and act intelligently. In the case of Carrie Buck, the particular problem seemed to be that she would have children out of wedlock. The colony noted that not only had Carrie Buck given birth out of wedlock, so had her mother, who also contracted syphilis. Eugenics deemed this an irrational behavior, and thus an indication of feeble-mindedness. Doctors at the colony then tested Carrie's 6-month-old child. They held a coin in front of the baby's face, and when she did not pay attention, they deemed her feeble-minded as well. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, writing for the majority, pointed out that
the attack is not upon the procedure but upon the substantive law. It seems to be contended that in no circumstances could such an order be justified. It certainly is contended that the order cannot be justified upon the existing grounds.
The colony had properly complied with the Virginia law, so the question before the court was the constitutionality of the law itself. The court ruled,
in view of the general declarations of the legislature and the specific findings of the court, obviously we cannot say as matter of law that the grounds do not exist for sterilization, and if they exist, they justify the result.
What may have been obvious to Holmes was not apparent to others, but he went on to justify this decision with reasoning commonly expressed in the eugenics movement.
We have seen more than once that the public welfare may call upon the best citizens for their lives. It would be strange if it could not call upon those who already sap the strength of the state for these lesser sacrifices, often not felt to be such by those concerned, in order to prevent our being swamped with incompetence. It is better for all the world if, instead of waiting to execute degenerate offspring for crime or to let them starve for their imbecility, society can prevent those who are manifestly unfit from continuing their kind. The principle that sustains compulsory vaccination is broad enough to cover cutting the fallopian tubes. Jacobson v. Massachusetts, 197 U.S. 11. 3 generations of imbeciles are enough.
In short, the court was following the science of eugenics. The colony's test case was a success. Only Justice Pierce Butler dissented, but without writing a dissenting opinion, a common practice in that era. Many speculate that Butler dissented because he was Catholic, and the Church opposed involuntary sterilization. Others point to his overall judicial view that put liberty over the powers of the state. With the successful test case behind them, eugenicists were able to pass similar laws in 32 states over the next decade. That was a high point for eugenics. A couple of years later, World War II started. Hitler was an advocate of eugenics. His idea of a master race and the purity of the Aryan bloodline were grounded in it. Not surprisingly, following the discovery of the horrors of the concentration camps and the Holocaust, with its 12 million dead, including 6 million Jews, whom Hitler had deemed genetically inferior, the popularity of eugenics fell rapidly, and it is now rightfully considered a pseudoscience, if not a hoax. Due to the decline of eugenics, Buck versus Bell is now considered anti-canonical. However, it has never been overturned, and technically is still good law. It was cited favorably in Roe versus Wade to show that
the court has refused to recognize an unlimited right of this kind in the past. Jacobson versus Massachusetts, 197 U.S. 11, 1905. Vaccination. Buck versus Bell, 274 U.S. 200, 1927. Sterilization.
Do we have a right to control our own bodies? The recent dispute over mandatory vaccination shows this is very much an open question. Thank you for listening to Into the Desert, exploring the wilderness of thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe and put your comments below. Remember, be civil. We want to foster discussion and not division.